Major underwriting for A Taste of Louisiana with Chef John Folse was provided by the Baton Rouge Convention and Visitors Bureau. In Baton Rouge, our past is your present. Baton Rouge, authentic Louisiana at every turn. And People's Drugstores, serving South Louisiana for generations. George and Shirley Piku are proud supporters of A Taste of Louisiana with Chef John Folse. And by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Our mission is to tell Louisiana's story to the world. And by the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism.
Where you have this architecture, history, music.
And the bittersweet cry of the blues.
Especially the blues.
There you go.
How about a dozen?
Red beans and rice.
We rolling, y'all.
We're a nation of immigrants, a country with roots in other soils. Nowhere is that more true than in the country of Louisiana. I'm Chef John Folse, inviting you to tune in to A Taste of Louisiana and a new series dedicated to our food heritage. Louisianians are descendants of 7 primary nations that have influenced every dish we cook today. Welcome to A Taste of Louisiana. How y'all doing? All right, John. All right, I see you, Dorothy. Good to see you. How y'all doing? Good to see you. Hello, hello. Oh, what great faces. I have some of my best friends in the audience here from St. Bernard Parish. Thank y'all so much. I know some good people from Baton Rouge as well, but St. Bernard Parish, just a fantastic area. Y'all, welcome to the kitchen, because today we're doing what we've been doing for quite a while, cooking in Louisiana. We're trying to showcase those unique cuisines, the unique part of our culture to the rest of the world, because you know there's none better. It hadn't been the best kept secret, but now we want to throw it out there as best we can. So thank you all so much for helping us here today as we look at the Spanish cultures of Louisiana. We're doing 3 of these cooking pieces on each one of our great cultures. So Spain is today, and of course, we're focusing on the Los Isleños, that great culture from the Canary Islands that came to settle St. Bernard Parish. So you're in the best seats in the house. We're doing some of the great dishes. Ever heard of Caldo? Huh? Just sit right there. You'll eat some in a minute. Y'all, when I mention Louisiana's Los Isleños population, I generally get inquisitive looks. Who are the Isleños? Where did they come from? Are they still in Louisiana today? Many of you met the Isleños in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina focused attention on Louisiana St. Bernard Parish just below New Orleans, home of the resilient, ever proud, ever hopeful Isleños descendants. Dorothy Benge and I introduce you to these fabulous people. Christopher Columbus's last stop before discovering the New World was the Canary Islands, the Spanish Empire's first colonial territory. Strategically positioned off the coast of Africa, it was the last landmass lying between Europe, Africa, and the Americas. The Canaries became the gateway to the New World. 7 of the 13 islands are inhabited, and it was from these lands that settlers came here to St. Bernard Parish. Early in the 1700s, Spain learned that Britain was planning to invade the colony of Louisiana. Galvez recruited Canary Islanders to settle and protect the Louisiana colony. The first recruits arrived in 1778 and were charged with growing food and populating the colony while defending it against British invasion.
He petitioned the King of Spain for colonists. The King of Spain obliged, and the Canary Islanders answered the call. Their purpose in coming was to protect, feed, and populate the colony for Spain.
The Spanish government constructed houses for the Los Isleños and gave small land grants to each colonist. Subsidies of food, cloth, tools, and money were given to the new residents until they could become self-sufficient. The Isleños were strategically settled in 4 locations to guard the city.
The first settlement was at Galvestown, which is near Gonzales, Louisiana today. The second was at Valenzuela, which is near Donaldsonville today. And then there was the settlement in Barataria, which is in Jefferson Parish, Barataria today. And then the fourth and final settlement was here in St. Bernard. And originally, our settlement was called La Concepcion. It was later renamed to honor Bernardo de Galvez. It was named after his patron saint. The fifth settlement never came to pass, never came to fruition.
The Isleños farmers provided the New Orleans markets with garlic, onions, beans, potatoes, and poultry during the late 17th and 18th century. Spaniards from Tenerife domesticated cattle for ranchers throughout Louisiana and eastern Texas who brought their herds to the settlements here. In the 19th century, many Isleños worked on plantations, harvesting sugarcane and cypress. During the 1820s, Canary Islanders established a fishing village at Delacroix Island. These commercial fishermen supplied shrimp, fish, and crabs to New Orleans restaurants in seemingly inexhaustible quantities. Trapping became an important livelihood for these people after the Civil War. Isleños hunted not only to provide food for themselves, but to supply New Orleanians with wild game. Ducks were the most highly sought after game birds.
And with no education, no engineering degrees or anything, they developed boats to fish with. And they improved them and to go along with the environment that they were living in, and the seafood industry, the fishing, the hunting. But they adapted so well to this land that was so different from where they came. I think that's one of the things I'm proudest of being Isleños, because they're such a resilient, adaptable, never say die people.
Today, most Louisianians who can trace their heritage to Spain are the remaining descendants of the Canary Islanders who settled in St. Bernard Parish. Elderly Isleños still speak an archaic Spanish dialect brought to Louisiana more than 2 centuries ago. What a fabulous, fabulous culture, the Los Isleños. And when I think of the contributions, and you heard the word resilient, I cannot think of a better word for these people, especially after the tragedy of the hurricanes that hit us. Here they were right there trying to get back in their settlements and putting them back together as they are today. So wonderful people. And contributions, you heard garlic, you heard beans. I'm going to do a couple of great dishes. Today, the melitone. There's still big debate going on about the chayote squash or the melitone, that wonderful vegetable of Louisiana. I give that to the Canary Islanders. Anyway, y'all, so a couple great guests in the audience with us today, too. First of all, in the music section back here, Neil and Donna Wilkinson. Thank y'all so much for being here doing some of this great Los Isleños and Spanish music for us. You're great. We appreciate you. And then right on the front, right here, y'all, right on the counter, Dorothy Benge, and she's the president of the Los Isleños Cultural and Historical Center, and you do such a great job preserving it, you and your whole group. Y'all thanks for being here. Just absolutely wonderful.
The purpose of our mission.
Well, great. And then John Booth, y'all. John's on the counter because I think he makes the greatest grilled oysters in the world. And I ate them when I went to the festival there just recently, and I said, you need to sit on the counter. Maybe I can steal his recipe. Maybe I can get it out of him. But anyway, y'all, thanks so much for being here, and thanks to all of you. Well, what am I going to do? You heard the story about building boats? Wonderful fishing culture, absolutely wonderful. The oyster industry almost built by the Los Isleños in that area. And I want to do something with oysters today. So many great recipes, but you know what I decided to do? The most famous of all oyster dishes, in my opinion, which certainly we can trace back to a couple of cultures, but eating the oyster po' boy. Just seeing those oysters crispy fried in St. Bernard Parish, I thought was some of the best I had eaten. And let me show you what we're going to do with them today. First of all, these oysters right out of the shell, Louisiana American variety, really wonderful. And I'm going to make a quick little batter. There's a couple of different batters we can do to put dip our oysters in, where they're so salty, you don't really need to put too much salt or pepper in them, but I'm using a little Creole mustard, a little just yellow mustard or prepared mustard, and then of course a little touch of salt, not too much, a little bit cracked pepper, milk. I want to make an egg wash, so I'm not going to make it too heavy. I don't like that globby cream and that just sticks to the outside of the oyster. I want to see the meat of the oyster through the frying batter. So I'm going to add half water, half milk. I'm going to stir that around and break that egg yolk to make it nice and thin, but yet fully flavored. And I'm going to dip the oysters from this batter right into the corn flour, and I'm going to coat them really, really nicely here. Now, Dorothy, I have to just quickly ask you a question here. When we talk about the society that you're president of, tell us a little bit about your mission.
Well, our mission is to preserve our culture and our heritage, and also to make sure that the rest of the world knows about us.
What about keeping in contact with the culture over in the Canary Islands? Do y'all make trips there?
Yes, we have very, very good connections in the Canary Islands with the governments of all 7 islands that our descendants came from, our ancestors came from. And in fact, a group of us are going in November.
Right.
We have made 3 trips already to the Canary Islands. And then we have Canary Islanders come to perform at our festival every year.
Right. Now you know, you mentioned in the piece about Canary Islanders being ranchers early on, but yet they adopted very quickly. They adapted to the Louisiana landscape, right?
Well, in the Canary Islands, they were actually farmers, and they used the oxen to till the soil, the grounds, and they do terrace farming over there. And then when they got to Louisiana with their oxen, Texas heard about us and the way that they could domesticate these oxen and train them to be work animals. And we didn't have mules in the Canary Islands, so we used the oxen. We were farmers first, primarily.
Well, I know I can see how well they adapted, and especially today they're having to start all over again. Y'all, you see this crusty French bread? Do you have any doubt? Right out of the oven. Take a look at this. Whew, look at the steam coming out of it. Keith, you better get close on here. Now I'm going to put some remoulade sauce. A lot of different sauces could go on top. You could use a spicy mayonnaise. That's all nice and fine. A couple slices of tomato here, y'all, right on top of it as well. Some beautiful lettuces. They used to call this the peacemaker because guys who used to go out on boats at night and then come back in early and go into the quarter and party all night would have to bring some of these home to make peace. Look how crispy these oysters from St. Bernard are here. And y'all, I'm gonna just put the po' boy together very quickly. I think you can get the general idea. Oh, put a little hot sauce on top of it, just like that. Like this, I'm gonna put a couple little pieces, couple dashes of hot sauce, like that. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Is there any doubt that that's a peacemaker? In central Louisiana, there's a little small community called Zwolle, and every year they have a tamale festival. Why? Because the tamale is one of the great food contributions given us by the Spanish. I'm always in search of a great tamale, and I found the best in the kitchen of Rhonda Gautier just outside Natchitoches, Louisiana. I'm very lucky, y'all, to be in the home of Rhonda Gautier, a great tamale maker who was born and reared in Zwolle, Louisiana, the tamale capital of the world, or at least of Louisiana, I guess I should say. Rhonda, thanks for having me in your kitchen. Why tamales in Zwolle?
Why tamales in Zwolle? Well, my family came from the Southwest. Tamale was a dominant food in that area, and it's always been a tradition. We've always raised our corn. We had all the staples to make the tamale, and it was a staple food in my home every day. Now
let's talk a little bit about the ingredients in the tamale. Tell us a little bit about the, because I normally think of either white corn or yellow corn, but you have the hominy here.
Okay. The corn, corn and the shuck and the meat, that's your basic ingredients. Of course, a little spice here of garlic and pepper.
Right.
Now, yellow dent corn is the dominant corn that people usually use to make the hominy. But today we got the white. The difference in the white and the yellow is the white corn, when you cook it and make hominy, it's a little sweeter.
Okay.
That's the only difference in it.
Now, what about the meats? I know you're using pork and chicken, but can you use seafood or vegetables?
You can pretty much stuff the tamale shuck with anything you want. My grandmother, she would stuff hers with greens, turnip greens, collard greens, mustard greens, and of course she would mix the onion and the garlic and the pepper. And
now you have the corn shucks already soaking in hot water so it softens them. So why don't you put one together for us? Show us how to put one together, because look, my main mission here today is eating one.
Eating a tamale. Okay, this is a pretty easy thing. You got hot water here, of course, to make your shucks soft. And what you do is always make sure, okay, you know, when you shuck a corn cob, you're going to pull it off this way. So this is the inside of the shuck. Always try to stuff the inside of the shuck.
Right.
So, I mean, and it's good and warm, and I'm not going to daub with my fingers today. We're going to use a spoon. It's much faster. And you just put it out on here, and you use the water.
The hot water just smooth it out.
To smooth out.
Keep it from sticking onto that spoon. So you're just kind of coating the shell with the hominy, and that's the outside of the tamale. When people unwrap it and they look in it, that's how it's that's how it gets coated like that.
And remember, when you do this, you can cook your meat the day before. You do it all in steps. Of course, you know, years ago you had to shell the corn, cook the corn, make the hominy, and grind it. Then make your dough.
It was a 2-day affair.
It was more of like a 3-day affair. And that's it.
And then you would just, now this is going to be steamed, right? And that's it. How long does it steam?
Well, it depends on how many you have in a pot. I have some cooked here today. It took me an hour and a half to cook. If you have anywhere from 5 to a dozen or more in a pot, it's going to take a good hour and a half. If you have 20 to 30 dozen.
Talking about 30 dozen. Let me start breaking those up while you.
If you have 30 dozen, it will take about probably 2 hours.
Oh man, look at this! Look at this!
That's chicken.
Oh, this is chicken.
That's chicken. And the basic ingredients are garlic, pepper, and salt.
Absolutely delicious, y'all. Thank you so much. I'll tell you, I'm going to have to sit here and get a complete class in, because this is some of the best I've ever eaten. No kidding.
Thank you.
Y'all, I have to tell you, the tamale isn't a product of the Los Isleños, but I'm sure Los Isleños loves tamales, but of Spanish influence from the south, and of course from across the Texas border, Sabine River. Again, thanks to the Spanish for that very important food. Now, what are we going to cook now? My next dish, there's so many choices here. Corn. When I got to thinking about corn, the makshu. Anybody eats makshu in here? Huh? The makshu, that great dish of corn. Originally, shu is cabbage, so corn and cabbage, and I think that probably got its name from some way of the caldo that has the cabbage in it made the name makshu, which is a corn and tomato dish, come into being. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I wanted to do this wonderful caldo dish, which is the origin, of course, caldo to boil, or in a cauldron, in a big pot of some kind. It's just one of the premier soups, right, of the Los Isleños?
Absolutely. And if you go to the Canary Islands, there's caldo on every menu.
Caldo on it's kind of like going to Spain looking for paella. You're going to find caldo in the Canary. Look at all of the ingredients. First of all, the meats. I have ham. I have salt meat. I have pickled pork, which is a way of preserving meats in brine or in salt. And then, of course, smoked meats as well, because every culture smoked meats not only for flavor, but as a preservative. The more you smoked it or sun-dried it, the longer it would last, and naturally it would flavor soups like caldo. So any combination of these meats can go into the dish. If you're using the salt meat or pickle meat, you have to boil it first because it needs to get nice and tender. And of course you can use the water. And I've been boiling this pickle meat for about an hour or so to tenderize it. You could do it in the pot as well. I have some here. Now let's look at the ingredients for the caldo. I'm using a couple of different kind of beans because beans are a great gift to us from the Spanish as well as the Los Isleños. When we think of beans, we think of Spain in general. We have white beans, black beans, red kidney beans, all of these different beans. And of course, they're going to show up in caldo. You have the white beans here. We have peas, naturally corn. We have potatoes, one or two versions. In Louisiana, we'll add a little of the sweet potato. Squash, cabbage always goes in as the finishing dish, and naturally corn, a very, very important part. What about the food traditions of the Canary Islands versus Louisiana? Any similarities today? While I start this, I'm going to throw some olive oil in here because olive oil is another big part of Canary Islanders, right? So what about similarities?
Well, of course, we in St. Bernard still eat caldo today. And the Canary Islands, as I said, it's on every menu. It's a staple, it's easy to fix, and it's something that you can go out in your garden because most of the Isleños had gardens.
Right.
You just go pick your vegetables out of the garden.
Good way to eat your nice fresh vegetables right there.
And there's, and of course, paella is another thing that's very popular in Spain and the Canary Islands.
And the Canary Islands.
And of course, we here in Louisiana, we have jambalaya.
What's that?
We have jambalaya, which is actually, I believe, a derivation of,
the paella. Well, I tell you what, if you look into this pot, you can see the evolution right here in Louisiana. We have all of these great ingredients: onions, celery, bell pepper. I'm going to put some red bell pepper in here. We're going to go in with the corn. We're going to go in with the squash. And as you say, this could be out of everybody's garden. And of course, I'm cooking here in this gorgeous enamel cast iron pot. When you cook in cast iron, as most of the, again, developing cultures brought cast iron with them to Louisiana, and we're always loving cast iron in our cooking. And these beautiful pots here are cast iron as well, and they just really cook soups like this really, really nicely. So I'm going to saute the vegetables here. I have a really great stock as well that's going to go into this, and I'm using a chicken stock, but I guess you can use just a little beef stock or pork stock in here, fish stock, right?
Or ham stock.
Oh, ham stock, naturally. Tell me about the Tenerife lace. Y'all famous for it, and I know I got to really worried after the hurricane as to whether y'all had lost a lot of those early Tenerife lace.
Well, we did lose a lot after the hurricane. We were fortunate enough to have the art of making Tenerife lace brought back to us.
Yeah.
We had lost that art, but we found there was Rowena Spencer was a retired pediatrician, and she found a piece of this unusual lace at a flea market, purchased it, researched it, learned how to make it, and gave lessons at our museum
and so now,
every other week for, I guess, maybe 14 years. So we have some, just lovely pieces.
Well, I think what y'all do as an organization to preserve one of these great, unique cultures, the Los Isleños of Louisiana, and now, of course, you have the extra challenge of putting the whole community back together.
Yes.
But I have to applaud all of you because the efforts that you have made personally to keep the culture alive and to bring it back into existence in St. Bernard Parish after that tragic storm is just absolutely remarkable. And I'm going to give you my own hand right here. Thank y'all so much. What about, let me see, I got to show you this wonderful caldo. Look at here. I came over here and I got sidetracked with my olive tapenade. Take a look at this. The corn, y'all. beautiful corn in here. And of course, this could be served just like that, or did you ever put it over something? Little rice or whatever. And tapenade over there. Look, play with the tamales here. Y'all go ahead and eat them. Y'all, time flies when you're enjoying good food and good conversation with friends in the kitchen. Thanks for stopping by as we continue to explore our unique food heritage and cook up another great taste of Louisiana. I'm eating caldo. Thank you.
To purchase the Encyclopedia of Cajun and Creole Cuisine by Chef John Folse, featuring more than 750 traditional recipes, a CD-ROM of the book, or a copy of the program featuring all 3 episodes of Today's Culture, call the number on your screen. Major underwriting for A Taste of Louisiana with Chef John Folse was provided by the Baton Rouge Convention and Visitors Bureau. In Baton Rouge, our past is your present. Baton Rouge, authentic Louisiana at every turn. And People's Drugstores, serving South Louisiana for generations. George and Shirley Picu are proud supporters of A Taste of Louisiana with Chef John Folse. And by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Our mission is to tell Louisiana's story to the world. And by the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism.
Where you have this architecture, history, music,
And the bittersweet cry of the blues.
especially the blues.
There you go.
How about a dozen?
Red beans and rice.
We rolling, y'all.